Hello, welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and another edition of What is in Our Stand today. That's a hashtag you can follow, but I'm going to give you another hashtag, which is What Lurks Within. Now, that's a series of videos where a customer complains about something, maybe a noise, maybe just something. And when I get into the job, something that maybe you couldn't see until a disassembly is done or until the service has begun. So that's what lurks within. So 2 hashtags you can follow on all my social media platforms, and that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. So today I want to talk to you about periodic maintenance. It's something that you are familiar with when you have a vehicle, right? There's the 5,000 mile oil change, and then there's another, each service interval escalates in the amount of work that is done, and it carries the previous things as well. So you get an oil change, but now you have to add a transmission fluid change, or you get your belts redone, or timing chain, or something to that effect. You get the idea. It's something we're all familiar with. So I'd like for you folks to think about the fact that your bike also needs regular service intervals. Figure out how to do it, maybe quarterly, maybe every 6 months. Your local bike shop can tell you what things should be looked at every there's the simple stuff like daily right before you ride. Then there's possibly weekly, like maybe making sure you lube your chain on a weekly basis, or 2 weeks, depending on how much you ride and where you ride. But then there's other things like checking your chain for wear. I should say all items that have wear and tear. So in this case, brake pads and brake rotors and things like that. So this customer came to me, and he's a very steady customer. He's got multiple bikes for multiple disciplines, gravel, road, and now we're looking at his mountain bike. But the story goes that he's riding with his mates, and every time he hits the rear brakes, it's just this loud squealing noise, and there's he's like, can you figure out what's going on? Now this gentleman is he is a very good cyclist, but maintenance and scheduled maintenance and periodic maintenance and things like that, he leaves to me. Now, I hadn't seen this bike in a few months, didn't know how much he was riding it, but this is what I found when I took the wheel out to get my initial troubleshooting. So as you can see here, we're looking at a rear brake caliper, and we're looking inside here at the rear brake pads, and they are very worn out. So, it's one of those situations where, the low-hanging fruit when someone says they got squealing brakes is, hey, let's take a look at your brake pads. And I don't typically think they're going to be worn out. I think maybe they're low, or maybe they've got some contamination, or I think he even said, well, maybe there's a stick, not a stick, but a rock or some gravel or something stuck inside there. But I took the wheel out, and you could just see very, very clearly that these pads are completely worn out. And, here's the sad part, because had this been captured much sooner, recognized as, periodic maintenance, okay, beginning of the month, or depending on how many hours I'm riding this bike, I'm going to check my brake pads, right? And so what happened was, we're looking here at his rotor, And now his rotor has excessive damage on it from the backing plate of these pads rubbing against the rotor. So now we've got metal to metal contact, and so now the rotor needs to be replaced. So, you know, I wish to talk to you folks about being a steward of your own bike maintenance. You have to take a little bit of responsibility and just a little bit of inspecting your bike from time to time can avoid these kinds of things, because now this is a costly error. Let's just say the pads are, $30, $40. If you replace those frequently enough, then you don't have to replace, a $50, $60, $70, $80 rotor. And this is the same principle when it comes to chains and chain wear, keeping your chain fresh, because if you have to replace, let's just say a chain ring, or if you have to replace, a 12-speed cassette, that could be quite pricey. Okay, so that's all for today. My tip for today is, please take a look at your stuff on a frequent basis. Create some type of periodic maintenance schedule for yourself. Or if not, check with your LBS, your local bike shop, with a mechanic you trust, and say, hey, when should I be looking at what items? And generally speaking, your mechanic will know more about your local regional area, where you ride, what type of weather, what type of terrain, what type of, if it's mud crossings or just dry dirt and sand like we have here in Southern California. And they'll know about your mileage and the amount of hours that you ride your bike. So they'll be better able to consult with you and give you that advice. So once again, just work with your local bike shop. They are there to provide technical expertise, and they're always there as a resource for you. And, no question, and I know you've heard this before, but it really does make your relationship deeper with your mechanic or the shop owner, if you have that kind of relationship with a local shop. No question is a dumb question. You could ask them, when should I be looking at my chain? When should I be doing whatever? These kinds of things. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. They're more than happy to help you. And most people in bike shops are bike geeks. That's the only reason they're working there. They're not working there to make $1 million or to retire early because they work at a bike shop and they're making all this money. No, they're there because they're bike geeks. They really want to find people just like them and talk about bike stuff as often as possible during the business day, so that, well, at least this is how I've always talked to my sales staff and my mechanics as well when I've managed bigger shops before I opened my own. Hey, find some commonality with the customers that are coming in, so that you and that customer over time build a relationship, build some rapport, and you just come to work and every day talk to other customers that just talk about bike stuff, and your day just goes by nice and easy. Okay, that's all for today. Please like and subscribe. Please share this video with your friends. Maybe they got a squeaky noise on their brake, and this could be what's going on. Just plain old worn out and needs to get replaced. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you up the road.